Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about QBASIC. QBASIC is a high-level programming language. It is a modern version of basic programming language. High-level programming languages are easy to learn and understand. Now it enables a programmer to concentrate only on logic rather than memorizing statements. The statements used in QBASIC are very similar to English sentences. Hence it is easy to learn and understand. So in order to learn QBASIC programming, we need the software QB64, which we can find it from qb64.net. We need to first install it and then we need to run it. We need to type in all the commands to run our QBASIC program. Now let us start with our first code in QBASIC. So let us see how to print a text on the screen. So in order to print a text on the screen, we need to use the command print, and then in the end we need to use the command end. So in order to run this code, it's a very simple code, simply to print a message on the screen, and the message will be my first QB64 program. And you can see the syntax to type this message is to use the command print and then to type the message within the double quotation. So in order to run this code, we can run the code from the run menu, or we can also run by simply pressing the F5 key on the keyboard. And you can see that now the message is being displayed on the screen. Now if I run this code again, we can see that the message is being displayed again, but it did not clear the last time the message was displayed. So if we want to clear the screen so that each time I run this code, the last message should not show in the screen. So in order to do that, we need to use the command clear the screen, or CLS. Let's see. So now simply if I use this command CLS and then I try to print a message, so each time I run this code, the last time it displayed the message will no longer be available in the screen because the CLS command clears the screen. Now what about printing numbers? Here I was able to print a message. Now what about printing some numbers? So in order to print a number is very easy. Simply we will type the command print and then the number. Simple as that. Now run the code and you can see it displays the number also. Now we can also perform some arithmetic operations in QBASIC. So in order to perform those arithmetic operations, we need to store some values in some variables. Now what is a variable? So variable are the names given to the memory locations where the actual values are stored. So we utilize those variables in order to perform such arithmetic operations and logical operations. So if I consider two variables, so this is the way you will declare two variables. Let x is equal to 8. X is a variable. So this x is the name given to a memory location where the value 8 is being stored, and y is the name of another memory location where the value 9 is being stored. So now if I want to perform arithmetic operations between x and y, we can type the code as and now let us run the code and you can see that it displays the result. Now QBASIC also maintains hierarchy like BODMAS rule in maths. So here in QBASIC it maintains a rule named BEDMAS, BEDMAS, where B means brackets, E means exponential, D means division, M means multiplication, A for addition and S for subtraction. So that hierarchy is maintained in QBASIC. So let us see. So that is an exponentiation symbol. That means this symbolizes 2 to the power 2. Now let us display the message and you can see that the result is -1. Here the let statement is also known as the assignment statement. The let statement assigns a value to a variable. So the syntax for the let statement is, first we will type the command let, then we will type the name of the variable, then we will give the equal to sign, and then we will type the value. It might be string, it might be number, it might be another variable, the value of which will be assigned to the variable. Now we can also assign string values to a variable. So let us see how to assign a string value to a variable. So in order to assign a string variable, first we need to type the name of the variable, so let it be p, and then followed by the variable name we have to give a $sign. Then we will give equal to sign, then within double quotation or single quotation type in the name of the string, say class. So now let us continue assigning some more strings. So now you can see I have assigned 3 variables, and in 3 variables I have assigned 3 different types of strings. So if I want to print those strings, I simply have to use the print command. So let me run the code, and you can see that it displays the strings that I have assigned to the variables. Now you can see that the strings were displayed quite afar from each other. So if I want all the values to be displayed together along with each other, then I have to use semicolon instead of comma. So what it will do, that instead of displaying the strings separately or apart from one another, it will display all of them together. So let us see, and you can see now that all the messages are displayed together adjacent to each other. So we can do some modifications. Simply I have given a space after the first 2 strings, and now let me run the code again. And you can see that the message shows class 7 and 8 topic of QBASIC. So this is the difference between comma and semicolon. So comma will display the results but apart from each other, and semicolon will display the results adjacent to each other. So till now we have seen how to assign a value directly to a variable. That means the programmer will predefine the value of a variable. But what if we want to take the value of the variable from a user, that is a user oriented value? So in that case we have to use the command input. So the general syntax of the input, as you can see here, is first we will type the command input, then we will display the message within double quotations, then we will give a semicolon, and then we will type in the name of the variable, that variable where the value will be stored. So let's see. So whenever I will try to take a string value, at that time I need to give the variable name first, the name of the variable, whatever you want to give, and then the $sign. And if you want to take any numerical value, then you don't have to use the $sign after the variable name. So you can give any variable name. I am trying to take 2 variables. Now in this program we can see that we are trying to take the name from the user, we are trying to take 2 numbers from the user, then we are doing a calculation, that is multiplication, then we are displaying that multiplication, and also along with that we are displaying the name of the user. So let us run this code, and you see the first thing it is asking me is to enter my name. So let me enter my name. After pressing enter, it is asking me for a number, then it is asking me for another number. And now you can see the program displays the multiplication of those 2 numbers, 8 and 9, and also it displays my name. Now let us talk about conditional transfer of control, that is the if-then statement. It is one of the most important statement. So with the help of this if-then statement, we can check conditions in the program and make the decision accordingly. Now relational operators are used to make conditions. For example, if a is greater than 10. So the relational operators are less than, greater than, equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal to, and is not equal to. So let us see a code, an example. So here in this code we can see that I am checking a condition. So I am taking 2 numbers from the user, B and C, and then in the if then statement I am checking if B is greater than C. So if the value of the number B is greater than C, then the greater number is B, else the greater number is C, and at last I am simply printing the name of the user. So it is a very simple if then statement code. So here if this condition becomes true, only then this statement will be carried out. But if the condition becomes false, means if B is not greater than C, then this statement will not be carried out. Instead, it will move to the else statement. And under else, the statement is the greater number is and the value of the variable C. So now let us run the code. Then let me give a number, say 8, and the last number be 9, and you can see that the greater number is 9. Let me run the code again. Say this time the first number is greater and the second number is smaller, and we can see that the greater number is 9 and the name is teacher. Now here we have seen the if then else statement. So now let us see another version of the if then or if then else statement is if then else if statement. So when we need to use the if then else if statement? When we need to check multiple conditions. So let us see an example. So here you can see I have modified the same code a little bit. So here we are checking in the first condition, if the value of the B is greater than C, then obviously the greater number will be printed as B. Then I am checking the second condition, that is I am checking two conditions. That's why I need to use the else if statement. Here I am checking the second condition, if C is greater than B. So if C is greater than B, then the greater number is obviously C. But if neither B is greater than C nor C is greater than B, that means it will go to the else part and the numbers are equal. So let me run the code. You can see definitely C was the greater number. So the code replied us that the greater number is 9. As you can see, this time definitely B was the greater number, so the code replied us 9 is the greater number. So this time both the numbers are equal, so the code replied us that the number are equal. So this was an example of if then else if statement. So we use the if then else if statement only when we need to check multiple conditions. Now we will discuss about QBASIC loops. So there are three types of QBASIC loops: the do loop, the while WEND loop, or next loop. So in order to utilize these QBASIC loops, we need to know about two types of variables. One is the counter variable and the other is the accumulator variable. So what is the purpose of a counter variable and an accumulator variable? Well, a counter variable has the purpose of storing the number of times a particular condition occurs in the algorithm. So a counter variable is a type of integer and is incremented every time some specific condition occurs. The variable must be initialized to a given value, which is usually 0. What is an accumulator? An accumulator variable stores partial results of repeated operations to it. The value added is normally that of another variable. The initial value of an accumulator variable is normally set to 0. And what is a loop? A loop is a task that is to be performed several times. That is, it repeats a set of statements until a certain condition is satisfied. So the repetition design structure is a looping structure in which a specified condition determines the number of times the same task will be carried out again and again. So now let us see an example of do loop, for loop, and while loop. So now I am going to write a code to display numbers but by using separate loops. So first let us go with the do loop. So this is a do loop. Here I have taken an initial value for count, that is 0. Now this is a simple example of do loop statement. So first I have taken a value for the variable count. Then inside the do loop, these are the two body statements of the do loop, where first one is count is equal to count plus 1. That means a value of the count will be added by 1, and then I will simply print the value of the variable count. But these two statements will keep on repeating itself until the condition count less than 10 becomes satisfied. So until unless the value of count is till less than 10, the body of the do loop will keep on repeating itself. So first the value of the count will become 1, then I'll print the value 1. Then I will check loop while count is less than 10. So the value of count is 1 and 1 is definitely less than 10. So that means it will again repeat the body of the do loop. Again 1 will be added to the value count. Again the value of the count will be printed. So now the value of count is 2. So 2 is definitely less than 10. So again the body of the loop will be repeated. Again the value will be checked whether it is less than 10. Now it will become 3. Yes, so 3 is less than 10. So again the body of the do loop will repeat itself. Again the value will be incremented by 1. Now the value of the count will become 4. Again we will check whether 4 is less than 10, and so on. It will keep on continuing. So once the value of the count becomes 10, and when the condition comes as 10 is less than 10, so definitely 10 is not less than 10, so the do loop will stop. So let us run the code, and you can see the values are displayed from 1 to 10. But if we use until, but here instead of less than 10 we need to use equal to 10. So until lets the loop continue till the condition becomes true. So the loop will end. So that means what? When the value of the count will become 10, it will end. And instead of while, until unless the value of count is less than 10, the loop will continue. Once it becomes 10 or more than 10, the loop will not continue anymore. And here the loop will continue till the value of the count becomes 10. So this is a simple difference. Let us run the code, and you can see it will again display the numbers from 1 to 10. Now let us see the same code for the while WEND loop statement. So it's very easy. Instead of do loop, we will use now while when loop. So here in the while when loop is the same concept as it was in the do loop. This is the body of the loop. Here the condition is checked first, and then the loop of the body is executed, and when the condition becomes false, the loop of the body will not execute and the loop will end, and we will get the desired result. So let us run this code and see, and we can see it displays the number from 1 to 10. It's the same concept. So initially the value of count is 0, then it is less than 10, the condition is true, then the body of the loop will execute. So value of the count will be incremented by 1, then the value of the count will be printed, will be displayed, then again the value of the count will be checked whether it is less than 10, so the condition is true. Again the value of the count will be incremented, again the value of the count will be displayed, and so on. And when the value of the count will become 10, and once we check the condition 10 is less than equal to 10, the condition becomes false, so the body of the loop will not execute, hence the code will stop. Here we are seeing the same code but in the for next loop. So the for next loop is very easy to use, and it is one of the most important loop and most user-friendly loops here, and it is also very easy to use. Here we can see the syntax of the for loop. For I is equal to 1 to 10. That means the value of the I will range from 1 to 10. Here the counter variable is I, and then step 1. That means the values from 1 to 10 will increment by 1 each time. Then the loop body is the print I, and then next I. So next I refers the next value of I, which will be incremented by 1 because of the command step 1, and then the value of the I will be printed. So here if we would have written step 2, then the value of I would have increased by 2. That means after 1, so the value of I would have become 3, then 3 plus 2 is 5, then the value of I would have become 5, then 5 plus 2 is 7, then the value of I would have become 7. That means each and every value of I would have incremented by 2. As we are trying to write the same code as earlier with the help of the for next loop, we will use the command step 1. We want our values to increment or increase by 1. So for the first value 1, the code will print the value I, that is 1. Then next I, means after step 1, the I will become 2. Now I is equal to 1 to 10, that means yes, 2 is in between 1 to 10, so it will print I, that means 2. Then step 1, then for the next I, that is 3, and it will continue till the value of I becomes 10. It will print 10, and next I, that means when it will be incremented by 1, the value of I will become 11. Now from 1 to 10, 11 is not in between 1 to 10, so that means the condition is false. Hence the loop will stop and the code will be executed. So let us run this code and see, and you can see that it displays the values from 1 to 10. Now we can also use nested loops. That means a loop inside another loop. So here if I write Now this is called a nested loop. So a nested loop generally means a loop inside another loop. So here I want the values of I to run from 1 to 10 and to increment by 1. And then inside that value, I want the values of j to run from 1 to 10, that is increment by 1. So let me increment the values of I by 2. So for the first value of I, that is 1, j will be printed 1 to 10. Then after the I increments by 2, that means the value of I 3. So for the value of I 3, the j will be printed from 1 to 10. Again, for the value of I 5, j will be printed from 1 to 10. Then for the value of I 7, the value of j will be printed from 1 to 10. Then for the value of I9, j will be printed from 1 to 10. And then for the value of I11, j will not be printed because for the value I equal to 11, the condition becomes false and the loop will stop and the code will be executed. So let us see that the value has started printing from the value of I equal to 1 till up to the value of I equal to 9. So in the end, you can see for the value of I equal to 9, the j is printed from 1 to 10.